Well, good afternoon, everybody. Wow, what a day. It's been raining here in Florida. What else is new? And we've been having some internet problems all over the map since for a couple of days now. But I'm so happy that I'm able to reach out to you guys today. Saturday, 3 p.m. and Sundays at 3 p.m. Today, I'm excited. Very, very excited. And because we have an incredible talented person who's making possible to be with us from Amsterdam right now. Her name is Christine Wiltshire, a dear friend. I love her dearly, and I know all of you love her as well. And right now, she's not just anybody. She's a singer, she's a producer, she's a songwriter, and so also the extended Patrick Adams collective family, really. And I would like you to please listen to this particular video that we put together for her, if you don't mind. Thank you so much.
Her professional career began in the Luther Vandross quintet Luther in 1976 and broke through internationally with the Patrick Adams group Musique by 1978 with international hits as In the Bush and Keep on Jumpin', which resulted in a gold record for album Musique, and her group was nominated Billboard's Best Girl Group in 1978. She also composed for the group. Although not on the record cover of POUSSEZ, she did all lead vocals for the project. She got her biggest hit song with Weekend, originally recorded by Patrick Adams' studio group Phreek, of which she was a member. She has toured around the world with Luther Vandross, Zulema, Discotheques and the Sexolettes, Samantha Sang, the Marvelettes and Marianne Faithful. As a session singer, she can be heard on recordings by many prominent artists. Through the years, she has also developed herself as a jazz and standard singer, and she performs songs from the Great American Songbook at supper clubs and intimate venues, next to her work as a pop and former disco singer. Congratulations, Christine Wiltshire. Welcome to the Legends of Vinyl Artists Hall of Fame.
Wow. Yes, sir. And now, ladies and gentlemen, Christine Wiltshire. Christine, my love, how are you? Hi, babes.
Hi, Louis.
How are you, sweetheart? How you doing?
You?
Oh, I'm excited. Let me tell
good.
you, I can't hide it. I love you, man. We've been talking for so long, and we had such a great time the last time I saw you last year, and I was planning to come back this year to see you and see everybody. Unfortunately, but you did your thing. You did go to Italy and perform with our friend Lenny. I mean, how was that?
We had a great time. We had a great time. We had absolutely fucking great time in Italy. Yes, we did.
Tell me all about it, because I only hear bits and pieces from Lenny, and I talked to Checo, and obviously, but it's so awesome. We're planning to get back there next year, and hopefully we all regroup and get together. You look terrific, my love. You look great.
Thanks.
You look fantastic.
It's pouring. It's a typical day. It's pouring. It's been raining all day. It's been overcast.
Yeah.
And this is the rain do hairdo. I had actually put I had a hairdo when I left today.
Yeah.
And that was quickly washed away by the rain. So I said, hell with it. It is what it is.
Same here. It's been crazy, but I'm glad that we can communicate this way, and I cannot thank you enough, because you are just arrived at your home from a gig, which now are really are kind of too far apart, and we have to deal with that,
they're really rare. And this was something that came up at the last minute. There's a woman that has booked me around town, and sometimes she puts up these spontaneous gigs. And there was one of the cafes that I used to work with on a fairly regular level. They had stopped doing music, and they were so desperate. They were like, "Look, please, we need something. Can you just come in here and do something this afternoon? Just for the afternoon," because COVID has really, it's really shut a lot down, and we've just gotten new guidelines where now all of our cafes have to be closed by 10 o'clock at night.
Ouch. Yeah. And
10
that is
o'clock at night.
that's pretty much
Okay.
in the whole in Europe, all over Europe,
Well,
right?
I don't know. Well, right before I went to Italy, which is now just about a month ago, Spain had closed her borders.
Okay.
England has very, very strict rules. In fact, I had a good friend whose mother just passed, and she wanted to go home for the funeral. And England was like, okay, we'll let you come, only because she was coming from Netherlands. Okay. And they were like, we'll let you come, but you have to go straight to your hotel. You have to eat in your room. You can only use room service. You have to go right to the funeral, and then you have to be out of there in 4 days. So England is being real strict because their numbers have spiked. Like I said, before I went to Italy, Italy was doing pretty good.
Yeah.
Spain had closed its borders. France had closed down Paris.
Right.
And we thought we were doing all right. I mean, we had a few closings, within the center of the city, but now we've got these new directives and cafes that, they're lowering the numbers. Now you can have only 30 people in there. Cafes have to be closed by 10 o'clock.
Right.
Now they're asking for people to wear masks in the streets of the center, whereas before it was just the tram and the trains and the buses. But I think what they're doing is preparing these people, little by little to get used to a full lockdown if it has to come to that.
Yeah.
Because our numbers are going up.
That's crazy. I mean,
you have to remember, this is a very small country.
Right.
So you may have 7 million people in the whole country,
Right.
Or maybe 5 million people in the whole country. And you figure you have X amount of cases. But when you look at something like Manhattan, which has 11 million people just in Manhattan alone
Right.
living,
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's like it breaks down to person per capita.
That's
So,
true. That's true. It's a sad situation that we all, this is what we're going through. I talk to a lot of people. We all talk about the same situation. But we just have to sit here and wait until something, a miracle may happen. But Christine, right now, I am so excited that I have you with us here, the L.O.V. Legacy Hour chat, because your legacy is amazing. You have created so much, and you're going back and work with so many people. Obviously, I haven't spoken to Patrick. How is Patrick? How is he doing? Is he okay?
Patrick is doing much better.
Gotcha. Okay.
It was rough going for a while,
Right.
but he's still in medical facility,
Right.
and he's still getting his chemotherapy.
Right. Yeah.
But he looks better.
Yeah.
He's put on weight.
Right.
He's doing much, much better.
Our love to
So
Patrick. Our love to Patrick.
We're very
because
positive.
absolutely
Very positive.
wonderful, and the family and everybody. Your wonderful daughter, and she's fabulous. And so, what we'd like to do, Christine, if you don't mind, I want to take you back a little bit. I want to educate some people. I want to make sure that people get the right information coming from you, Christine. Okay. Going back to the days. I mean, I know that you're in books, and we all have a lot of things in books, but there are a few things that we need to know, and we need to know from the early days, because you have so much. Before even you went to work with Patrick on POUSSEZ and all of that, tell me something about those early days as Christine Wiltshire became this incredible talent, and your vocal is amazing. You singing is amazing. So please take us back to the early days of Christine.
I do have to say this, on the thing that Legends of Vinyl made, and a lot of people have made for me, it all says, Christine began her career with Luther Vandross. Well, that's not quite true.
True that, yeah.
Because Jocelyn Brown and I have been friends since we were, about 11 years old.
So,
and we formed a group called Something Different way back in 73. And we used to work under that group name. We went out on the road with Zulema. That was our first road gig, our first in-studio recordings.
Right.
Then we became Discotheques and the Sex. This is before Luther. This is long before Luther.
Right.
Then we became Discotheques and the Sexalettes. We recorded for John Lennon. We recorded for Yoko Ono under the group name of Something Different. We all started out. All our firsts were together.
Wow.
So it goes back to, just a little bit further than Luther, because Luther didn't come along till like 76.
Absolutely. That's exactly
somewhere around there.
That's exactly what I wanted to hear, because it's important. A lot of people are under that impression. And if it comes from you, I mean, this is the real deal. So, ladies and gentlemen, you are listening for the first time. I mean, working with Yoko Ono and John Lennon, our discotheque is XLX. I mean, really, he is still around. By the way, Sir Monty Rock.
Yes, he's living in Vegas.
He has always been there. He became a preacher now. Oh my God! Well, I met him. I met him back in the 70s. Yeah, and he is actually, if you remember Saturday Night Fever, he is the DJ at the 2001: Space Odyssey nightclub in Brooklyn. And he played the DJ part in that. And after that, he went to Vegas, and he's been there all along, So he's a one.
When I moved to Vegas in 2003, and Monty was already there. And I got to give Monty credit for one thing,
Yeah.
He introduced us. We traveled to Europe. We went to South America. We went to Mexico. He took us all over he opened up the world to us as far as touring out of the country was, and we got our first taste of international travel with Monty Rock. I have to give him credit for that.
Fantastic. Yeah. I love it. And I hope that he can get to hear this video, because it's important. The last time I talked to Monty Rock was when he lost his partner. And he was going through a lot in his, like anybody else. And I really spent a lot of time on the phone with him. And this is, I don't know, 5 years, 6 years ago.
I haven't talked to Monty since last time I talked to him, I was still living in Vegas. And it might have been around 2012, somewhere between 12 and 14.
Yeah.
I did speak to him on the phone,
right.
But I haven't, I go to his Facebook page and, I put a little comment, or I put a heart, a like or a heart.
He's a sweetheart, and I wish him nothing but the best. I mean, like I say, I felt really bad, and then, that I couldn't provide any assistance to him, based upon the fact that we're doing the awards and here and there and everywhere. And but it was difficult for him to travel from Vegas to the East Coast. Now that we're trying to go to the West Coast, it may be a possibility for us to kind of invite him over to participate and to award him, because he deserves it. He absolutely. I met him in 1979 in Vegas. We worked together in the same. I was in the same casino. He was working. And but yeah, absolutely. I think it's important. I don't know if he will answer the phone anymore. He would like that. He would like that.
But he would love it. He would love it.
But working with John Lennon and Yoko Ono, I mean, that must have been a trip.
That was a treat. That was a real treat.
Yeah. Okay.
John Lennon was one of the most personable people that I've ever met in the business.
Okay.
He was a sweetheart. He treated us well.
Right.
Yoko was a sweetheart also as well in the studio, and she heard us doing John's album, and that's when she said, "Well, I want them for my album as well." But she was really nice to us. She was really nice.
You know what? One of my favorite songs from back in the day is Lou Reed's "Walk on the Wild Side." Walk on the wild side.
I need to clear something up with that. I need to clear something up with that.
Sure you do. Okay,
because this comes up a lot, and there was a 20 Feet from Stardom that came out, that movie, and in the opening credits you hear Lou Reed's live performance of Walk on the Wild Side.
Right.
And those are my vocals.
Ouch.
And I mean, I'm sure he did something in the studio at one time or the other with whoever he used. And the whole thing about that was I was getting on an elevator going up to a studio on 54th. It was where we did the Yoko Ono album and the John Lennon album. Sound something. I'm getting so old I can't remember shit. But it was, I got on the elevator, and as the elevator doors were getting ready to close, this guy stuck his hand through the door. It turned out to be Lou Reed. Right. Okay? And to be honest with you, I didn't know who the hell Lou Reed was because I didn't buy his music. I mean, I was listening to, soul music.
Sure. Yeah.
I didn't listen to it. Yeah. And he got on I was on my way upstairs because Jocelyn, myself, and Angel, who was in something different at the time, her name is Diane Coakley, we had done a recording of a song called Thank You, Love that we had done at Record Plant. This was the studio. Okay. And I was going up there to pick up a reel-to-reel, which is the same reel-to-reel that I used to walk around to all these different record companies, which is how I met Patrick and how I met the people who represented Zulema. We ended up getting ready to sing. We ended up getting to sing with Bill Withers on his live Carnegie Hall album because of, this trek that I made through the studio and the fact that we were with Zulema. He heard us. We opened for him at Carnegie Hall, and he heard us singing, and he says, "Ooh, I want those girls to sing with me on my last song." So we ended up singing with Bill Withers on his last song on his show at Carnegie Hall. Right. And they had photographers who was like walking around, and somebody snapped a picture of me. So my picture is actually on his album cover. It's a double album, and it's all these little squares.
I do have Lou Reed's. I have all that stuff, so I have to look at this.
That's Bill Withers.
Bill Withers. I have Bill Withers, no problem. So I have to look into that.
And if you look in there, you're going to see a little picture. You'll see a picture, it's just my face, and I had these afro puffs on the side of my head.
Yeah, I love it. I love it, honey. Do me a favor, back off a little bit from the screen so I can see you fully. There you go. Stay there, right there. Okay. So this is so important. I mean, we're learning. This is what the Legacy Hour is all about. And this is what makes me so happy that actually we are able to listen to these incredible talented individuals, icons that can educate us all. So that's important.
But what I was saying to you, and I know I got onto something else, but I got on the elevator to go upstairs to pick up this reel-to-reel tape.
Right.
And this guy, Lou Reed, got on the elevator.
Right.
And as we're riding up, he looked at me, he said, "Are you a singer by any chance?" And I said, "Yes, I am." He said, "You want to make some money?" I was like, "Sure." And I got off the elevator with him. He took me into the studio. In fact, I didn't even record in the studio. He stood me on the stairwell with a big old-fashioned, one of those 1940 mics.
Yeah.
Because he didn't want to use the echo out of the stairwell. I mean, out of from the board. He wanted the echo that came out of the stairwell. And now I realize it's because he was dubbing the voices on his live performance. Wow. So that is how I got on that. And I did all three voices, and I doubled all three voices.
Sweet Lord. Isn't that amazing? Because I pay attention to these things. It's important. I mean, I know that I can do that having the vinyl. So, yeah. Absolutely. You heard it here. Anything else? Because I have so much going on here. You did work with Keith Richards of the Rolling Stones and John Phillips of the Mamas and the Papas. Jocelyn.
I did work with John Phillips from the Mamas and the Papas. So did Jocelyn. And that was never released. That stuff was never released.
Wow.
And without going into a whole lot of detail, John Phillips was going through a period of his life where his extracurricular activities sort of got in the way of his musical life.
Right.
And so that album never got released.
Wow.
It never got, I remember them calling me up to the offices at Atlantic Records because the amounts of money that they were being charged, they were like, "Well, this is outrageous." I said, "Yeah, but he had us there for 10 hours, even if we didn't sing a note."
Right.
He had us sitting there, and he'd, and they were like, "But we're not going to pay this." And I'm saying, "Yeah, but, you have to pay this because we were called for a session. And, this is just how it happened to work." And, he spent his time doing whatever he was doing, but he still had us there. Jocelyn was a part of that. She was there for that.
Yeah.
There's a lot of firsts that we went through.
And
But John Phillips later became a friend, and Keith Richards became a friend as well.
Keith,
I never with him in the studio,
wow.
but I was friendly with him. I used to see him on a regular basis at Atlantic Studios, and I was pregnant at the time. And after my son was born, he invited me to his farm in Connecticut. And so my son and I went up there, and we spent like 3 weeks with them.
Wow, that's so awesome. That's fantastic. Man, anyway, that you had a wonderful, wonderful time doing all of this. Eddie Kendricks, Candi Staton, Lolitta Holloway, when Kid Creole and the Coconuts, Herbie Mann, Latoya Jackson, Cuba Gooding Jr., Robert Palmer, God bless him. Oh my, don't let me tell. Through the years, Christine now also developed herself as a jazz and standard singer, and she performed songs from the Great American Songbook at supper clubs and intimate venues. So this is, I love that about you. You just take it and just go for it, man. That's just it. I love that about you.
Well, that came about because, people know, all the DJs know who I am. Producers know who I am. But a lot of household people didn't know who I was. They knew my songs, but they didn't know my name.
Right.
And unfortunately, I came from a generation where, when black women would go in the studio, white women would end up on the album covers.
Right.
So you didn't have an image of us. And it wasn't until the second Musique album, which that Musique 2 album is the Musique's second album. It doesn't mean Musique, a whole nother group. It means the second album.
Correct.
And I did that album, and at that time I was going on to do stuff with Patrick, and I had just done Phreek, and I had done some lead vocals for Kid Creole, on his Spooks in Space. And so I decided, I was starting to now get calls to come out and work on my own, which was my decision at the time. That, okay, I would replace myself we replaced me with a girl named Denise Edwards. Denise Edwards.
Okay.
And even though, I don't understand why these things happen, but even though Denise Edwards' name is on the album, Denise Edwards did not sing a note on that album at all.
Well, there is there's so many things that I have here, all this vinyl, and you are as Christine Shire. No, Wiltshire.
Some things were done. Yeah, some things were done under Christy Shire because I thought I was young. I was young.
And guys,
I thought my name was like
too
proper.
Right. I have to tell a story about this. Check this out. Okay. Okay. Oh yeah, listen, I love this, but the story goes like this. Because about a week ago, we had Izzy Sanchez, who was the record promoter. And that's Izzy's remix. And he told the story actually live on his show on this Legends of Vinyl channel. And he was telling about the story about this album, that when it came out. And he took it, once he did it, he took it to the garage. and
Yes,
the
he did.
garage, and then all of a sudden, even Frankie from WVLS was there. Frankie Gregor was there, and all of a sudden Larry plays this song, and he just exploded. Larry took that to another level. Even though this record really became so recognizable, underground, played by all of us, these jockeys to this day, and it will never die. It's an anthem. It's an anthem. It is. That's how wonderful this record has been. In fact, I have also Larry's 12-inch as well, and Tony Musto.
Louis, did you know, Louis, that between Larry Levan's version and Patrick Adams' version, Weekend has been remixed 67 times.
Wow, I love it.
By 67 different people on different levels.
Jesus Christ. I'm telling you, this is just an amazing thing because, there it is. And I do have pretty much several remixes like this one here. And I would try to, but the Larry Levan was an amazing mix. I have to tell you, it is. I play either Larry's or Izzy's 12-inch, and the 12-inch and the album that came out from Patrick's. But Christine, you have an incredible history with that, and I can be more than thankful for being able to play your music. Going even further back, I mean, I'm going back into the days of Musique and POUSSEZ.
No, you can go back further. You can go back to Dance and Shake My Tambourine.
Dance and Shake Your Tambourine. Absolutely. There you go.
Shake Your Tambourine.
I have the album. I have the 12-inch.
You can go back to
1970.
Bumblebee Unlimited.
Bumblebee. You know how expensive that freaking 12-inch is? I found it, it's expensive. I have it. Thank God I do. I'm not going to get rid of that.
Yeah, you could. When I met Patrick.
Yeah.
I met Patrick and he's another person. I met Patrick in an elevator too. I don't know what it is.
You got to stop doing that. But although you're meeting the right people, man.
The very first time I met Patrick, and I met James Brown in the elevator too. Happened to end up opening for him later on with Luther, but I met these people in elevators. I did a lot of. You have to understand.
Yeah.
Back in those days, it was very hands on, and people were walking around with reel to reel tapes, and we were walking around and knocking on record doors, companies, and saying, "Hey, listen to this, listen to this, listen to this."
Right.
We didn't have a manager or anybody to speak for us, and I just used to go to different record companies, and this is how I met the people at Buddha.
Buddha Records.
It put me in touch with Zulema, who was on Sussex.
Yes.
Which is how we ended up being able to work for her.
Yes, yes.
And Patrick was on his way upstairs in an elevator to see, I can't think of his name right now because my memory is so bad. Right. He's not living anymore. His name was Ron something or the other. And he was the head of A&R at Sussex Records. Really nice guy. Right. Lived in Brooklyn and not walking distance from where I lived in Brooklyn. Okay. And Patrick was on his way to see him, and we exchanged names and numbers. And that is how I got in touch with Patrick later on.
Wow.
And, I called him up. I said, okay, you gave me your number, so here I am, But, Patrick and I started working together in, I got out of the military in 73. So figure the very end of 73, 74. Even when we did, we originally did the one that Jocelyn did for him, Ain't No Mountain High.
Ain't No Mountain High.
We did that way back in 74. That didn't get sold until 83.
Wow.
Patrick was so far ahead of his time.
Yeah.
I remember when he did Circle of Love for Sister Sledge.
Sister Sledge.
I think it was Sister Sledge.
Sister Sledge, absolutely. Sister Sledge. Yes. I have that album.
This is how far back. When I met Patrick, he had just finished doing Black Ivory.
Yeah.
And he was when he produced them, he was only 19 years old.
Yeah. What a talented. He is definitely an icon, and I can't wait for, to give him the due. I know that we recognized Patrick about 3 years ago in New York, 3 or 4 years ago. But, Patrick and Leroy Burgess and so many other people. But, this is just the beginning. I do. Is your story about coming out of the armed forces? Do people know anything about that? Can you tell us a little bit about that story?
Being in the military?
Yeah.
When I came out of high school,
Yeah.
I did not want to. I was done with school. I was not. My parents, they were like, oh, my father wanted me to be an attorney, and my mother wanted me to be a professional, but it wasn't for me. That's not who I was,
Right.
and I decided to go in the military. And in fact, there used to be a little a place where Flatbush Avenue and Fulton Street used to cross in Brooklyn.
Wow, yeah.
And there was like a little island there, and there was a recruiter's office for the Marines, the Air Force, and the Army. And I happened to walk in
like
there
Times Square. I did the same thing. Oh my God.
Yes. I happened to walk in there one day. And so I went into the military, and they made me a medic, which I really wasn't happy with. I changed my what I did. I changed and I went into air traffic control.
Oh, wow.
And I worked in air traffic control till I got out. And I thought about going into it when I got out. But at that time do you remember when Reagan didn't want to give those people a raise and the air traffic controllers walked out?
Yes. You did? You were one of them?
They walked out. No. Because I wanted to take the test for air traffic control. But the waiting list was like 6 months long. And then they had this strike.
Oh, wow. I remember
because
that.
Reagan did not want to. And I'll tell you this. I mean, they deserve every freaking penny they get.
Sure. Oh, it has to be a mental. I mean, they have this incredible job. How much responsibility these people have is incredible. Yes,
people take.
I've heard.
People take it for granted, but these people sit there looking at a little circle with dots, just dots. You know, for hours and hours and hours and hours, and they were being underpaid. And then they want them to work overtime and this, that, and the other. And they're responsible. They're more responsible for your life than the pilots who fly the planes. Because those pilots have to get their information from those people who sit there and watch those little dots.
They have to know where the planes are, the certain distance, and so on and so forth. That is freaking me out right now because it's true. It's true. Back in the day, back in the day, yes, you're absolutely right.
Hell of a job.
So
But after I came out of the military, my God, I waited tables. I drove a yellow cab in Manhattan.
I did a limousine.
I taught. I was a paraprofessional for 6th grade in elementary school, PS 138 in Brooklyn on Park Place and Nostrand Avenue, because my mother was a teacher there.
Right.
She helped me get a job in there, so I worked as a paraprofessional. And I would work as a para Monday through Friday from 9 in the morning till 3 in the afternoon. Right. And I would get out of school at 3 in the afternoon. I would get on the train, ride to Manhattan, pick up a yellow cab, and I would drive Friday, Saturday, and Sunday nights.
Wow.
In the city. I would bank my checks and live off my tips.
Right.
And that's what allowed me to do that running around to the different record companies and hang. Because, the music business is social. If they like you socially, they'll do business with you.
Yeah,
but you have to be out there.
You have to.
You have to be out there. So it was a lot of nights of, going to whatever the popular restaurant was or cafe or bar to mix and mingle with the people who were in the music scene and getting to know them and blah, blah, blah. And when I met Patrick, for me, it was a godsend. I didn't realize it at the time because Patrick had not hit his pinnacle. Nobody, they knew who he was, but they weren't really knowing who he was. You catch my drift?
Sure.
And
absolutely.
we were doing records. I would go and do sessions for him for next to nothing or for free. And then we got that one hit.
Yeah.
And everything changed overnight. Everything changed overnight. All of a sudden, he was in such demand that he had me working 5 days a week in the studio.
Well, he was in demand that Atlantic Records went over there. We won Patrick because he was doing so well with Prelude Records.
South Soul, Prelude, you name it. Philly International. We started doing, I got to work with so many people. Like, I got to work, do something for Lolitta and Candi Staton and Eddie Kendricks and what's his name, B.B. King even.
Wow.
We got to do a record with him where I got to do the backgrounds on that. And I got to do backgrounds for Herbie Mann. And, along with all the numerous people, some people made it, some people didn't, but there was so much work. I got to do the backgrounds on Rainbow Brown, which is one of my favorite background systems.
Oh, oh my God.
And I had different girls that I used. I used different combinations. I tried to spread. I wasn't one of those people who had a clique and only used my clique to work.
Right.
I had friends.
Right.
And I hired all my friends to work as long they could do the job. So yes, I hired them. So Jocelyn did background with me, and Lucy Martin, and Norma Jean Wright, and Norma Garbo, Yvonne Lewis, Luther Vandross. Right. There was so many people. Yeah. Althea Rogers. Some of these people are not even alive anymore. Yeah. But I used them in different situations. I did stuff with, I had Gwen Guthrie come in because I was in a position where I could, I was the what do you call it, the person who, writes up the contracts and stuff like that.
Right,
and,
right.
My memory, I'm telling you, I'm getting old, baby.
No,
I can't
you're
remember
not. You're the same
shit.
age as me. You're young. I'm as young. You remember everything. Right now, I'm
but
just trying to...
It was a great time. It was a great time. And then I met people like Bob Blank,
right,
who put me in touch with different producers that I worked for. And that's how I got to, what's his name? Spooks in Space. Shit. You know what I'm talking about.
No, I don't. Who are you talking about?
Savannah Band.
Oh, my God. Okay,
Kid
Dr.
Creole and the
Buzzer.
Coconuts.
Okay, yeah. Kid Creole, yeah.
August Darnell. I did so much work.
Yeah.
I got to do so much work for August Darnell. And if he's out there in the universe, I have to say this. August Darnell, look, Patrick Adams is a great producer, but I tell you what, August Darnell is one of the most creative producers I've ever worked with.
Right.
And if you can't hear, you can't work for him, honey.
Wow.
Because when he plays something, he would play something, and you'd listen to it, you go, what the fuck is this? Where is this going? And he'd give you a part to sing. You had to be able to hold your own and sing your part. Because if you listen to what was going on around you, you'd be like, well, this doesn't even sound like it belongs here. But when you see it all in the big picture, everything fit. He is one of the best producers I've ever worked with. I'd give him that to this day.
That is so
He
awesome.
is he made me have to use my talents. He made me know that I had a good ear and that I could hear.
That is always great. To remember that person.
I got to give him his props.
It's like a teacher. We all remember that teacher that gave you that much. He was tough and everything, but you remember that teacher who actually made you do what you're all about, and that's absolutely.
Well, you know who was tough on us?
Who's that?
On Jocelyn and myself and Angel. You know who was tough on us?
Who's that?
Zulema.
Really? I like her music.
She was Suli was we used to call her Suli. She was no joke. Yeah. We used to rehearse. And it wasn't like we were making thousands of dollars, okay?
Right.
But she used to rehearse our ass.
Right.
So that you sang something wrong on stage, boy, she'd turn and look at you and give you that look.
So she gave you the look.
She'd give you that look, and you were like, oh, Jesus.
I fucked up.
She taught us, to me, I think she taught me and all of us at that time, because it was our first gig, she taught us what professionalism was. She made sure that when we went on stage, we weren't singing no wrong notes. We knew our part. We could do it in any key, in any way. Rehearsal was no hour a day. Rehearsal was like 4 or 5 hours on a regular basis.
Right.
And we weren't getting paid for rehearsals. Mind you, when I got to the point where I could hire my own band, for rehearsals, I pay my guys for their rehearsal time.
Yeah.
We weren't getting paid. This is way back in 73,
Yeah, that's
74,
how
somewhere
far
back
she
then.
was. Yeah, sure.
But
Yeah.
she taught us to be on our P's and Q's. She didn't let
Fantastic.
us slide with anything. And if we were singing something that was wrong, she read us like we were dumb Doras, for real.
Amazing.
I gotta give her that. I've got to give Suli that. She made us professionals. She made us understand what it was like to go out there and your shit is right, and
Yeah.
not have excuses for it.
I
She didn't stand for it.
I know that you have done so much with so many people, including obviously Herbie Mann, who I really love this guy. Latoya Jackson, Cuba Gooding Jr. or Senior, actually, is Senior. Cuba Gooding Senior?
Cuba Gooding.
Cuba
Yeah.
Gooding, yeah, because he's
So
the one just around the bend. Yeah,
I did a main ingredients album for
the
Patrick.
main ingredient, right? Exactly.
I did a
Robert
main
Palmer,
ingredients album for Patrick,
right,
and I was in the background for his album. I did a Melba Moore album for Patrick as well.
right.
And Cuba was a gifted singer.
Wonderful.
He really was. He was
Him-
a gifted singer.
Absolutely, absolutely. Main ingredients forever. And then you did so many TV appearances, Midnight Special, Mike Douglas, Saturday Night Live, American Bandstand, Soul Train,
Yeah.
Top of the Pops in England. You did Top Pop in Amsterdam. Where
And then
where are they
we
now?
did Soul. We
Yeah,
did Soul with
TV
Zulema
Soul.
on Channel 13.
Any memories from those days? Which one stands out, Christine? Because
I think the one that stands out as the most frightening was the very first show we ever did. It was Jocelyn, myself, and Angel. And I've got pictures in my phone of that. And we had never been on TV before. And we were singing on Soul. It was on Channel 13. And they were featuring Zulema. And if you look at our faces in these pictures, you could tell we were some scared little girls, honey.
Oh shit!
I mean,
love
we
it.
knew what we had to sing, but there was no expression. You could just see it in our faces. We were like,
Oh my
okay,
god!
let's just be cool. Let's
Yeah.
let's not do the wrong thing. You could just see it. So
Yeah.
that was my first taping on television, and
Right.
it was scary because it was our first time, and we were so young. I mean, we didn't even have lines in our faces then. I mean,
I'm trying-
I got some still pictures of it, and you can see it. We were just so young. And then I look at Midnight Special, which was fun.
Right.
It was fun because we had come into who we were by the time that came around, and we had stage presence. You know what I mean?
Right.
And it wasn't our first time in front of a camera. The only thing about doing Midnight Special that was hard was the fact that we were working in Mexico. We did 6 weeks. Every time we would go to Mexico, we'd go for 6 weeks. We'd do a week in Acapulco, a week in Mexico City, a week in Cuernavaca, blah, 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 all these different cities. And we were in Mexico City, and we worked the night before. We flew out that morning to California, did Midnight Special, were there all day, flew back from California to Mexico City, and worked Mexico City that night.
Holy Jesus!
So,
Okay.
yeah, that was the most, I think, the most trying one because
Right.
we were tired. We were tired. That was
What a
hard one.
life! What a life! You learned a lot. You really did your thing, and give us a little bit information about something that we haven't heard from anyone. Tell us something about that is up to date. Just give me, what's going on.
Something that you haven't heard from anyone. Well, as far as the past goes, let me say this. Like when you played Phreek just now, it takes me back to being in the studio.
Right.
Phreek was all these things that we did back then. We were working so much. These were not gigs that we did that groups had names. Like, it's just like when I did Rainbow Brown, there was no Rainbow Brown.
Wow.
It was like Pat said, get 3 girls. I got a song I got to do for so-and-so label. Right. So we go and we do it. Well, when I'm singing Weekend on Phreek, I'm reading that off of a piece of paper.
Wow.
I didn't see that song until I went into the studio could do it.
Wow.
This is not like it was written for me.
Yeah.
And it's a difference when you, and there's a difference between the two of them with Larry Levan, because I had already sung the song. I knew the song. You know, I had lived with the song. Right. So I had a different energy with the second time I did it because I wasn't reading it off a piece of paper.
Right.
So that's one thing that many people don't know. And
when you walk into the garage, what did you feel? Did you remember that feeling? Because we all do remember that feeling coming into the garage. I mean, a block or two away, you can hear, you know, because it was downtown in Manhattan, you can actually feel all the stores, the doors will vibrate, and you couldn't wait to get in there. And when you got into the whole room, it was a spiritual feeling about not too many people can imagine. I mean, the
first time I went to the garage, first of all, I didn't, you know, I was working in the studio a lot, or I was on the road, and I met Michael. Michael came to Blank Tapes, and my song had been out at, oh my God, almost a year. And this guy, Michael, walks up to me, and he goes, "You Christine Wiltshire?" And I said, "Yeah." He said, "You're the one who sings Weekend?" I said, "Yeah." He says, "I've been looking for you for a year." He says, "I've been looking for you for the long." And Michael, I worked the garage several times. I worked at least 4 times.
Yeah, sure.
But when you go to work there, well, first of all, you're in a limousine. Right. So you don't come through the front door. Right. You come around the back, you know, you go in something that takes you right up into the dressing room. Right. So you don't feel that vibe. Right. But I got up there, and when I did see the room, the first time I walked onto the stage, I was like, I couldn't believe it. The energy level. Just the energy level. Yeah. And I had never worked there, and they started going, woo, woo, woo. And I said, oh, shit, they don't like me. I was like,
that was just, hello, welcome. I love you. I love that.
But once I experienced it, I started hanging out at the garage. Yeah. And I'm going to tell you something. There's a whole different vibe you feel when you come through the dressing room than when you walk up that ramp, baby. Yeah. When you walk up that ramp, I mean, I usually came by limousine, yes. But when you walk through the front door and you walk up that ramp and you hear that pulse coming out that building, and I'm like, and it just freaked me out because it was like being on a runway, you know, with the little lights going down the side. Yeah. And I had best feeling in the world.
The sound.
I used to try to sneak in there, and I'd go in with a pair of jeans. I never went dressed up. The only time I went dressed is if I was working.
Well, you could. I would come in. You have to sweat bullets in there. You needed to sweat bullets in there because the whole thing was just a one spirit.
But I got to tell you this about Larry. There would be 2,000 people on that dance floor. But let me tell you something. If somebody walked into that club that had a record that Larry played, somehow that motherfucker saw you come into that dance floor. He spotted you. And the minute he spotted you, he would put your record on. And I cannot tell you the very first time I got caught in the middle of the dance floor and Weekend came on. And I can't tell you what it did, because to be on stage and sing something to people, you know, and they clap and and they whoop whoop and blah blah, it's different. Okay, so you know they love you. But when you're on that floor and your record comes on and motherfuckers go crazy. They just lose it. I'm going to tell you, I've never felt anything as good as that in my whole life.
Yeah. You had to experience, but you know, I mean, a lot of people compare, you know, the greatest clubs in the world. I mean, Studio 54, a mainstream club, which, you know, you can't compare the two versus the garage. You can't. And I'm sure you did studio.
Yes, let me tell you something. I worked at studio, and I went out and I hung at studio. When I went to Studio 54, I went in my best dress, and I went to be seen. I did not go to dance. Right on. Nobody goes out to dance in a leather suit, okay? You know,
I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it.
when I went to Studio 54, I wasn't going to get on the dance floor and get sweaty. I was going there to look cute and get noticed.
Exactly.
Let's be honest. Being honest.
Get high, really.
When I went to the garage,
yeah,
I went to dance.
that's it.
I went to dance. Period.
Oh my God.
And I used to be in there a bunch of times. I would just come in, get on that dance floor and dance, and Larry would see me and he would hit my record. I would go and hang out with him up in the booth. I'd been to his home several times. He became a very, very good friend, you know.
Right.
And, you know, then, of course, we were talking about doing something else after Weekend. And then, of course, he got sick, which was very, very sad.
Yeah, sure.
And, but he was, not only was he the most phenomenal DJ of his time.
He knew his crowd. He knew his crowd, and it didn't matter. It didn't matter what. He knew his crowd. That's the most important thing about knowing your crowd. And whether he put a waltz
that you never heard,
yeah,
that you would have never played,
right,
that you would have said, "Oh, I don't like that shit." By the time Larry finished with you, you went out of there singing that shit.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
He knew his crowd, and he knew how to present new stuff to them.
Yeah.
And he'd give it to them little by little in spaces and here and there until they had accepted the record for how he knew that record to be.
Yeah, it reminds me a lot of David Rodriguez, a DJ, a friend of ours from way back in the day, which he was probably listening to way back in the as a legend, a pioneer DJ. And Larry, and he used to do that. David used to do just that to a lot of people, and I remember him fondly. But Larry had that incredible
that gift.
Ear and gift,
he had that gift
to see that crowd, and everything. It's like all the planets were aligned when you went in there.
Yeah.
And everything
And I'll
worked
tell you
out.
something else. Yeah. Not only did Larry know his people, but the crowd got to know Larry. They knew when Larry was in a good mood. They knew when Larry was in not so good a mood just by what he played.
True that. Yeah, absolutely.
If you go to that, there's pages on Facebook like, the Paradise Garage and blah, blah, blah. And you will hear people make mention and tell stories about certain nights that they were there and certain things that he played that they could tell where his personality, his mind was, or his emotions were at that time by what he played for you, So it was a kind of give and take situation between, because you go to some clubs, if the DJ doesn't play things that you like, people, they get up and leave or they walk out or blah, blah, blah. But at the garage, it was kind of like a give and take thing that people were like, okay, this is the mood you're in tonight. Okay, we'll go with it. We'll go with it.
I love
where
it.
another club, you couldn't, the crowd wouldn't give a DJ that.
That's right. No, that was his baby. He created it. He put it together. Everybody appreciated. He was really. All of us went to the garage to experience not just the sound system, but also the mind of this wonderful guy. And we give him kudos and respect that he deserves forever. And you see the reaction when Joey Llanos and David Epino gives they do their reunions. And I'm very happy to announce, Christine, Joey Llanos from the garage, who took over and continued to give respect to Larry. And also Douglas Sherman from the Loft, from David Mancuso, the Loft. They're getting together.
Yeah, he was another good one.
David Mancuso. He was the master of all these guys. They are getting together and starting the third Saturday of every month in our channel, Legends of Vinyl. They're 7 Heaven. They put together. So 4 hours of the Loft and also from the garage. So I can't wait for that. It's going to be magnificent because we need to remember these people fondly.
I just got to touch on one more thing, and I'm sorry. I don't mean to keep running on and on and on, but I don't get often to be able to say a lot of things that are on my mind. But one other thing I must say about the garage, they had the best staff of any club I've ever walked in.
Oh boy. Yeah. Yeah,
They
I
had
didn't
the
meet that many
best
people
staff.
from, yeah, but.
I'm talking all the way down to the coat check person. Okay, there was just such they were just so, they just treated you well.
Right.
There was so much respect given, and not just because I was, at the time, I had a hit record, because people with hit records always get respect, even if you're a bitch. Okay, you be a total bitch, and you'll get respect wherever you go. You've got a fucking hit record. We all know this.
True that.
Okay,
Yeah. Okay.
we know this.
Yes.
But they were genuinely courteous and sweet and accommodating. They were just nice people. The coat check people, the security people. In fact, when I went to do the Legends of Vinyl, not Legends of Vinyl, I'm so sorry. When I went to do the Ministry of Sound in England, must be 2 years now, Joey Lamos was there.
Okay.
Okay?
Yeah.
And he kept telling me, he said, I bet you don't remember how you really know me. And I'm like, how do I really know? He said, I used to walk you to the stage.
Yeah, he was a security.
Yeah,
head of security.
Because I was security.
Yeah. He was the head of security. Let me tell you, black belt and the whole 9 yards. He was really, to this day, is still in good shape. This guy, I have to give him. He's a good friend.
And like
good friend.
Like I said, I have to give them all their props because I worked every club in Manhattan.
Yeah,
I did Bond 54, Zanzibar, which is Jersey, but it was happening at the time. If it was playing Limelight, I worked all those clubs.
Yeah,
and I never had a problem with the garage.
Yeah,
I worked clubs where you went in there and you had to sit around for 3 hours to get paid. There's some story about your money.
Typical.
I never had a fucking problem with the garage. My money was always there. Before I hit the stage, here came Michael. Hey, Christine. And I'm like, geez, I had to bring somebody with me to hold the money because I had nowhere to put it.
Exactly.
So I had had somebody travel with me, so who could be responsible for the money. But there was always something to, and the garage didn't serve liquor.
No, of course not. Yeah. Right.
But they always had a couple of bottles of wine in my dressing room or something for me to drink.
Sure.
They always had something for me to eat.
Right.
They were just absolute sweethearts.
This is a wonderful hour that we have spent, ladies and gentlemen. The L.O.V. Legends of Vinyl Legacy Hour chat with Christine Wiltshire. There's nothing better. This has been one of the most amazing hours for me and for you guys who are listening to us. I can't thank you enough, Christine. I love you dearly. I can't wait to see you. I can't wait to go back.
Thank you so much for having me. And I'll tell you this. I mean, look, honey, I got stories. Okay.
I know that.
I got stories.
I think part 2 is on the works.
Back for some stories.
I love it. I think part 2 deserves a part 2. Don't you agree? Part 2, and I know that part 2 should be coming soon enough. So, but in the meantime, it's been an hour, the most enjoyable hour I had in a long time, Christine. Thank you.
Well, thank you.
From the bottom of my heart. You know how I feel about you, and I thank you. And ladies and gentlemen, you remember this. L.O.V. is the message. Christine, thank you, and God bless you. Please stay safe. All right, my love.
Hello to everybody from L.O.V., everybody who supports L.O.V., who's a part of it, all you DJs out there, a big shout out. I hope you stay safe and well. I hope all of you stay safe and well during this difficult time, and make sure you go out and vote.
Thank you so much, my love.
Okay.
You heard the best.
Right,
the best. I love you, Christine. Talk to you soon, sweetheart. Thank you.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.